vampires, gay buff dudes, and a lot of posing. This and many other bizarre things make up the beautiful story that is JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. This legendary series is divided into 9 parts in total, but only 6 of them have received an anime adaptation so far. Thankfully for us JoJo fans, this will change this March with the release of the anime for Part 7, Steel Ball Run. For this reason, I am recapping parts 1 through 6 of JoJo so we can all be ready for some more peak fiction. We already saw the tragic drama of Part 1 and the crazy fights in Part 2, but today it is finally time to talk about the part that most people consider to be the birth of modern JoJo's. Today, Warland presents JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 3, Stardust Crusaders. If you're new to the channel, welcome and thank you so much for being here. I assume that you're watching this after watching the videos for parts 1 and 2, but if you haven't yet, I will leave those in the description below. With nothing else to say, let's recap this legendary story full of handsome dudes. Part 3 starts right where Part 2 ends. Joseph Joestar, our last protagonist, is now an old man heading to Japan to attend to a very serious matter. His grandson has put himself in prison out of fear for a ghost figure that is hunting him. This dude's name is Jotaro Kujo, an absolute giga chad that all the girls want to make out with, and he's also our new Jojo. But Jotaro isn't being hunted by any ghost. What Jotaro has is called a stand. Stands are the embodiment of a person's willpower. They come in all shapes and sizes, and they all have incredibly different abilities. And with this, Jojo ditches Hamon and adopts stands as his new power system. Joseph arrives at the prison where his grandson is, at the request of his daughter, Holy Kujo, who is afraid for her baby, 17-year-old Jotaro. Joseph explains to Jotaro what stands are, and we even see his stand called Hermit Purple, which are these vines that let Joseph transmit Hamon energy. But Jotaro still refuses to leave. Thankfully, our boy Joseph was ready for this as he brought his Egyptian friend, Mohammed Abdul, to beat the shit out of his grandson. Abdul's stand is a fire chicken called Magician's Red, and with it he manages to take Jotaro out of his cell. Once they're out, Joseph explains that he didn't only come to Japan to free his punk ass, but also to take Jotaro on a quest. It turns out that at the end of Part 1, Jonathan Joestar wasn't successful in killing Dio, as Dio's head stole Jonathan's body to survive underwater for 100 years. Not too long ago, some fishermen fished out the coffin and accidentally brought Dio back. This not only means that our boys now have to go kill Dio, but it also makes Jonathan's story even more tragic than it already was. And since Dio obtained a stand using their ancestor's body, both Jotaro and Joseph obtain one as well. But things go even more to shit when Jotaro's mom falls incredibly ill after waking up her own stand. And since she's not a 17-year-old shooting steroids or the manifestation of luck on Earth, she is at risk of dying if Dio isn't killed in less than 50 days. This obviously triggers Jotaro because nobody can hurt his mommy, and he promises to once and for all kill Dio to save her. To do this, our boys first have to figure out where Dio is. Joseph uses his stand to take a remote picture of Dio by smashing a camera, but the picture comes out extremely dark. Thankfully, Jotaro's stand, which is called Star Platinum, has the abilities of super strength, super speed, and super vision, which lets him spot a fly on the wall in the picture. He sketches it out, and our boy Mohammed Abdul is able to recognize it as a native species of his motherland, Egypt. But before they leave for the African continent, Jotaro is attacked by one of Dio's lackeys, a guy called Noriaki Kakyoin. They wrestle and tussle for a while since Kakyoin also has a stand called Hierophant Green, but Jotaro is finally able to beat him by making out with a nurse. Back at Jotaro's place, the boys find that Kakyoin has a weird flesh bud on his forehead which allows Dio to control him. Jotaro removes Dio's balls from his brain, and Kakyoin reveals that he also wishes to defeat Dio for manipulating him, and just like that, we unlock a new Crusader. Fully ready now, the boys hit a final pose and head out to Egypt on a journey full of bizarre fights. They board a direct flight to Egypt, but get attacked by a fly stand that makes the plane crash near Hong Kong. Once here, they decide to stick to land traveling to prevent the death of innocent people, and at the same time they are attacked by a French dude named Jean-Pierre Polnareff, who is also working for Dio and has the silver chariot stand. Thankfully, Abdul's specs were too strong to get scratched by him, and he burns him to death.
Kill yourself!
But because Polnareff accepts his defeat like a gentleman, they save him and free him from Dio's mental balls as well. In this moment, we learn that Polnareff is on a quest to avenge his dead sister by killing her murderer, who also works for Dio, and we unlock our last Crusader for now. Once the team is complete, they fight several eccentric characters on the little bro trip to Egypt. But honestly, there's too many fights to go into detail on a single video. Bear in mind this is a 48 episode long anime, so let's skim through them while we see our boys advance. With the help of the Speedwagon Foundation, also known as Plot Armor, Joseph manages to get a ship to get to Singapore. Aboard the ship, they get attacked by this fish stand user who Jotaro fingers to death. After this, they set sail, but the ship had also been lined with bombs, so they had to make it to the lifeboats. In the middle of the ocean now, they get rescued by this massive ghost ship that turns out to be this monkey stand. And we don't really talk about what happened here. Once in Singapore, Polnareff is attacked by Ebony Devil, which is a stand inside a puppet, and Polnareff defeats him by turning the user into Swiss cheese. At the same time, Joseph and Abdul try to spy on Dio through a TV, but they receive a warning that Kakyoin is a traitor.
Boom.
On the other side of town, Jotaro and Kakyoin are strolling down the streets of Singapore, but Kakyoin starts acting really weird. Jotaro, who thankfully isn't stupid, realizes this is not his homie, but instead an assassin with a stand called Yellow Temperance. And being the Giga Chad that he is, Jotaro beats him mercilessly. Our boys now catch a train that takes them through Malaysia, Thailand, Myanmar, and finally they get to India, where we have a very important point in the story, since it is here that we will encounter the guy who killed Polnareff's sister.
It's payback time.
The boys are having dinner, and Polnareff excuses himself to go take a poopy, but is unable to do so due to the nature of Indian toilets. Things will get much worse for him though when he gets attacked by a stand inside the bathroom. Polnareff recognizes the stand user as his sister's killer because he only had 2 red hands, and that is the only distinctive trait he knows about the guy. Unfortunately for our baguette-loving boy, the murderer, who's called Jay Guile, is partnered with a hot cowboy named Whole Horse, and his Emperor stand is basically a gun that can never miss its target. Our boys are confused by their enemy's powers and don't know what to do. Abdul tells Polnareff to chill so they can come up with a plan, but Polnareff just turns off his brain and heads out to fight both of them by himself. Obviously, bro gets immediately low-diffed and was almost killed, if not for the fact that at the very last second, Mohammed Abdul jumps in front of Whole Horse's bullets and sacrifices himself to save Polnareff. No! Filled with guilt, which is completely deserved for being a selfish bastard, Polnareff escapes and regroups with Kakyoin to defeat the men that killed his sister and his homie. They decipher that Jay Guile's stand jumps between reflective surfaces, so after using some starving Indian children, they manage to corner him into a coin and finally stab him to death. Polnareff then returns to the group and they let him know that they have already buried Abdul and they must continue their journey. And our victory is even more bittersweet since Whole Horse managed to escape. He then uses his devilish charm to rizz up this pretty Indian girl to attack the boys with her stand, the Empress, which is conjured as this gross lump in Joseph's arm. But by using a mere 1% of his IQ, Joseph simply coats the stand with tar, which immobilizes the stand and kills the user, who turned out to be a fat lady wearing a pretty girl's skin. The now 4 Crusaders leave India and head to Pakistan, where they are attacked by this ghost car which seemingly has no driver. This of course is a stand, and after understanding the abilities, Jotaro low-divs the fuck out of the user. On their way to Karachi, they come across a sweet old lady that runs a hotel in a very foggy and mysterious town. The Crusaders think little of this and decide to stay in the hotel. In reality, this lady is none other than Enya the Hag, Dio's helper and the one who introduced him to the stand powers. This little witch also happens to be Jay Guile's mother, and considering that Polnareff skewered the hell out of her son, she is pretty upset and tries to take revenge. Continuing the bad luck of our French bro, he will be once again cursed in a bathroom as Enya uses her stand, Justice, to make him lick a dirty toilet clean.
Get your dirty hands off my boy,
says Jotaro, and he proceeds to fight her and gives her the suck of her life, completely inhaling her stand. Once Enya is defeated, the town is revealed to be a graveyard, so our boys once again have to dip. Once in Karachi, they come across another dude that infects Joseph's brain, but gets obliterated by Jotaro. And after this, the Crusaders make it to the United Arab Emirates. They cross the desert on camelback, but get attacked by the literal sun that starts cooking them alive. I'm sure by this point you're losing your mind over the amount of stand users that our heroes have encountered, but don't worry, because so have they.
Oh my god!
It turns out that the user was behind a mirror the whole time, and they just beat him using a small rock. But that same night, things get even more bizarre as Kakyoin finds himself trapped in a nightmare where he is attacked by Death 13. The user is this baby they have to take to a hospital in exchange for a plane to cross the desert. But since Joseph was on this plane, they obviously crash. That night, the baby takes all the Crusaders into a nightmare to kill them, but Kakyoin had taken some precautions and is able to beat him. Not only that, but to make sure that they never get attacked again by the baby, he mixes the baby's poop with his food and forces him to literally eat shit. After crossing the desert, the boys finally make it to the Red Sea. to an island where they meet Abdul, who wasn't dead.
So that was a fucking lie.
Yes!
And after this reveal, Abdul and Polnareff defeat a stand user by relieving themselves on the user's breathing tube. Yep, this was Araki's toilet era. Moving on, we learned that Abdul faked his death to get a submarine to cross the Red Sea. Once underwater, of course they get attacked by another stand user that morphs into metal, and this time it's a female user, so Jotaro beats her a little harder than usual. And with that, the 5 Crusaders finally make it to Egypt. And you might feel like celebrating, but the road ahead is even more dangerous than the one already covered. Joseph nonetheless was ready for this, as he brought a 6th member to the team, Iggy the farting dog. Iggy has a stand called the Fool, which is made out of sand, so he's a great addition to the team now that they're in the desert. Like I said before, just because they made it to Egypt doesn't mean that they're done fighting stand users, so let's see who they have to beat in the second half of the story. Right after we meet Iggy, the lads get attacked by a guy named Ndul and his water stand. This dude kills the Speedwagon people that flew Iggy over and even blinds Kakyoin. And Iggy was being annoying as shit, so out of frustration, Jotaro straight up launches the animal at the stand user and defeats him. They rush Kakyoin to a hospital, and thankfully, our boy will be okay. But as they're leaving, they get attacked by the Oingo Boingo brothers. Oingo can change his face, and Boingo has a comic book that predicts the future. Boingo's book predicts that Jotaro will be split in half by a bomb. But as Oingo was sneaking into the Crusader's car, he is forced to turn into Jotaro, and then accidentally sets off the bomb, and he gets split in half. So the Oingo Boingo brothers are pretty much defeated by themselves. A couple days later, Polnareff encounters a sword that takes control of you if you look at it, because it contains a stand. Of course, Polnareff gets cursed and he even stabs Jotaro, but Jotaro's all like, don't even sweat it, twin, and smashes the sword and frees Polnareff. The lads then make it to a hotel to rest a little bit, but Joseph and Abdul are put under the control of Mariah, who has the power of magnetism. And this leads to a very serious fight. Thankfully, our boys aren't that stupid and manage to turn the magnetism against Mariah and crush her with the metal. We then continue our trip to Egypt to find Dio's lair, but Polnareff's bad luck continues as he meets the Jeffrey Epstein of JoJo's, Alisi. Polnareff gets turned back into a kid by Alisi's stand, and this dude is a little too happy about it. Our French bro is defenseless against him, and Alisi makes the mistake of also turning Jotaro into a kid. But that matters very little as Jotaro destroys him with his raw strength. Now let's take a small detour for a second to talk once again about Whole Horse, who after escaping Enya's hotel goes to meet Dio at his mansion. He attempts to shoot him from behind, but Dio teleports behind him and tells him that he is too weak because he's not subscribed to Warland yet. So don't be like Whole Horse and press the like and subscribe button if your heart tells you to do so. After this, our pretty boy once again becomes a slave to Dio's orders and targets our heroes for a third time. Back with the lads, they have finally made it to the capital of Egypt, Cairo. They get to a cafe where they're gonna ask people for directions to Dio's mansion, and suddenly a man says that he will tell them where it is if our heroes can beat him in a bet. This dude is called Darby the Gambler, and his stand takes the souls of people that lose to his bets. He begins by beating Polnareff and turning his soul into a poker chip. Then Joseph loses the second game and faces the same fate. In reply to this, Jotaro, who had never played poker before in his life, performs a generational lock-in and bluffs his way into making Darby tweak out and die. Our boys' souls are back, but bro died before telling them where to find Dio, so the search continues. They have to go up and down the city before being attacked one more time by Whole Horse, who this time is accompanied by Boingo and his future predicting stand. The comic book predicts that Jotaro will be shot in the head, but out of pure luck he evades the bullets, which in turn hit Whole Horse. My guy just cannot get a single W. As the group continues their search, Iggy stumbles upon the mansion and its keeper, Pet Shop. Both animals duke it out through the city until Iggy internalizes how much dying would suck, so he locks in and bites off the hawk's beak. He then returns to the lads to guide them once and for all to Dio's mansion. Before they go in, our beautiful friend Kakyoin comes back from the hospital, and this way, with a full squad, they venture into the mansion in 2 groups. Jotaro, Joseph, and Kakyoin fall into a trap that takes them into the room of Darby the player, the little brother of the gambling addict. This guy's deal is video games, and he also has the ability to hear people's answers through their soul, something like that. By being cracked at Mario Kart, he takes Kakyoin's soul, but Jotaro and Joseph beat him by cheating at a baseball game.
Oh, that's a baseball!
While this is happening, Dio's right hand, Vanilla Ice, informs Dio that he is getting raided. Dio reacts nonchalantly and tells Vanilla Ice to commit sewer slide for him. And after Bro fulfills his request, Dio turns him into a vampire who sets out to hunt our heroes. Back at the lower levels, Iggy, Polnareff, and Abdul walk into the mansion, but shortly after doing so, Vanilla Ice uses his stand Cream to kill Abdul by sending his body to a different dimension. And this time, it is for real. So I'll say, goodbye Abdul. Rest in power, King. Polnareff and Iggy flee upstairs but are trapped and they're forced to fight Vanilla Ice. This tests the limits of our heroes since the stand cannot be seen once engaged. To solve this, Iggy uses sand to make Vanilla Ice visible and they are able to fight him. Regardless of this, Dio's lackey outpowers both of our heroes and they both catch serious damage. Unable to move, Polnareff is almost killed by Vanilla Ice, but Iggy spends the last of his strength to push Polnareff to safety and passes away. Polnareff locks in and manages to expose Vanilla Ice into the sunlight and defeats him, but we have once again lost another Crusader. Goodbye, Iggy. Rest in power, King. With Vanilla Ice gone, this makes 26 of Dio's lackeys that were defeated by our heroes. And now it is finally time to kill the Lord of all evil, Dio Brando. Polnareff finds Dio and confronts him, but for some reason he is unable to go up the stairs. Keep in mind that we still don't know what Dio's power is, so our French dude is as confused as we are. Joseph, Jotaro, and Kakyoin make it to where Dio is and attempt to expose him to the sunlight, but Dio retreats and the sun goes down, which makes our boys shit themselves with fear because now Dio will be able to hunt them through the night. In an attempt to figure out his stand ability, the lads break into teams. Joseph and Kakyoin lure Dio out by car, and Jotaro and Polnareff follow. Kakyoin uses Hierophant Green to lay a net that will perceive any of Dio's movements. But right as he does this, Dio shows up and one-shots our boy. Kakyoin is left bleeding out and confused as to why he didn't feel any of Dio's movements. And it is in this moment that he understands that Dio's power is stopping time. So with his last bit of energy, Kakyoin shoots a clock to give Joseph the message and passes away. Goodbye, Kakyoin. Rest in power, King. Joseph gets the message and gives it to Jotaro. Huh? But by this point it is far too late because Dio hits them with Dio stabs Joseph and tries to kill Jotaro, but at the same time our protagonist obtains the strongest power known to mankind, plot armor. And suddenly he is able to move during Dio's stop time and fight him to the death.
Surprise, motherfucker.
Jotaro slowly becomes able to move for more seconds until he is able to stop time himself. And by doing so, he tricks Dio into thinking he had won by crushing Jotaro with a road roller. But by this point, Jotaro was super pissed and breaks Dio's stand, the world. With his final attack, Jotaro kills Dio and finally lifts the generational curse from his family. Joseph is saved by the Speedwagon Foundation and Jotaro's mother is saved, but the victory is bittersweet as we also say goodbye to our fallen friends. Sometime later, Joseph, Polnareff, and Jotaro say their goodbyes at the airport and part ways, giving us the end to this bizarre adventure. The end. And that, my friends, was JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Stardust Crusaders. Like I said before, this is one of the most popular and iconic parts in all of JoJo's due to the amazing cast of characters and the introduction of stands. And now what follows is Araki taking this new power system to new bizarre places. So let me know in the comments how part 3 ranks for you compared to other parts. Click the like and subscribe button if your heart tells you to do so. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on part 4.
Get back!